Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and today I'm working with a couple of retiring products on my sample, but I'm going to show you something that's obviously still available as well in case you can't get it. So the open weave ribbon is still available in all of the in colours. I've used the pale papaya here, and I've just made a little diagonal opening box. It is sized to fit Ferrero, so you can fit 4 Ferrero in there if you want to. And you'll see as it opens, we've got this lovely little box that you can pop your little treats in, and then a diagonal closure and ties together with the ribbon. I've used our lovely flowing flowers for this happy birthday sentiment. And this one has been made with the hand pen DSP. Now, it was available when I was making this video at a discount. Beautiful floral images. It is retiring soon. It's got lots of the current in colours, so those are going to work, and our basic our colour family colours as well. So as you can see, that is just full of lovely subtles and pretty flowers, some Daffodil Delight in there. Cinnamon Cider is retiring, but all the other colours there, you've got sort of Highland Heather and bits of Fresh Freesia and Blushing Bride in the sort of tonal elements as well. So those are the papers on the front, and then those are them on the back. And this is one of those papers where, do you know what? I like the back as much, and on some of them even more than the front. I'm not a green person, but I love this, and I love the mint macaron that we've got. So those are the papers I used for my sample. You're also going to want the tailored tag punch, which is also retiring as well. And then the other thing that it would be good to, is these iridescent gems as well. Now I've used the new, I think it's called new bow punch. Hopefully you can see that there for this lovely little sprig and the leaf. I haven't used the larger leaf on this one though. So let's get started. Oh yes, so because that might not be available, I thought I'd use the Heart and Home DSP, which is available until the end of June. So, but this is a little bit different. So on the one side you've got these patterns which are kind of in the in colours. So Cinnamon Cider is retiring, but these other colours will still be available because this is Garden Green. You've got Fresh Freesia, some Misty Moonlight's going as well, but that would obviously pair well with Night of Navy. We've got Pale Papaya in there, and then we've got Pale Papaya and the Fresh Freesia in this one. And this one's unusual because on the reverse it's all black and white wood grain. So even if this were to retire, I could use that on so many things. You can colour it, you can add colour to it with sponges or markers. Really versatile paper. Comes in 12 by 12 sheets, and you get 12 sheets to each of the 6 designs. So in terms of my box, let's get started then. I'm going to quickly do a little bit of punching and stamping. So you're just going to need some scraps of basic white that I'm going to use. With this one, I go ahead and stamp the sentiment first, and then we're going to punch it out afterwards. So because I'm using, I thought I'd use the Fresh Freesia, but because Fresh Freesia is quite pale, I'm going to use my Highland Heather for the sentiment. I'm just going to pop that in. That's just about the width, so I'm just going to pop that in there, leaving enough depth for me to be able to punch below the tailored tag, hopefully. So you just pop that in, centre it to where you want. It just fits in. There we go. And there's my sentiment. I'm going to want a couple of those punched as well. And again, you can use your Fresh Freesia or your Highland Heather, either or. I've actually punched a couple in, or I've punched one. I'm just going to punch a second out of the Highland Heather again to give that. Sometimes I choose a darker colour for the borders. I'm just using up some scraps. And then I'm going to be punching some of my little boughs and leaves. So again, I'm just using scraps coming in from the side. I think I did sort of 3 or 4 of those. So there we go. and just punch those. And it's great for when when I've cut things out of boxes, and these are the side panels. It's always useful to kind of keep those scraps, because even though I've got a score line on, I can still punch easily out of the sides there. Just make sure you clear the debris regularly when you're punching little items. So now I've got my little flowers. All I'm doing is I'm just using some of our Stampin' Right markers to colour those in. So I'm just going to come in and colour my flowers at the bottom there. Now if you've got Stampin' blends, you could obviously use your blends as well. And this is my Highland Heather one. Again, because that's going to be standing out against my my fresh freesia, I decided to go darker on these. And what I'm actually going to do is come in with the bullet tip afterwards to add a little detail. I'm deliberately kind of not going in fully, if you like, with my marker, because I can come in then. Oh, actually, that's looking a little bit dry. Oh dear. Might need to refresh that, I think. As it happened, there you go. It's probably because I've just had it to one side. There we go. Colour's coming through a little bit now. Sounds daft, it's probably because I haven't used it much. So actually the colour may not have just come through. There we go. So once we've done that, made a bit of a meal out of that, but you can come in and just run your brush tip over those stems there. And you don't even need to come right down to the bottom, because that bottom section is going to be behind our label. So, don't use more ink than you need to, just come down there. And the beauty of the markers is that it does give you access to the Stampin' Up! Colours because they come in 10s, so they come in a colour family. So you can just get whichever, so subtles, or if you just want a little bit, to add a bit of colour, always a great way to add some colour to these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all create my layer. Straightforward, just cut straight down the middle of that. I'm going to add my adhesive to the back, so just add some seal and then just layer that up on your label. And this one's, I'm sorry to see this one go, because one, it's a geometric shape, which I think is always useful, but it's really nice, easy one to layer up because of that straight edge at the side. I'm then going to add some more adhesive to this left-hand edge, because that's where I'm going to be adding my flowers. So I'm just going to come in and add my flowers just to the reverse of that. I've obviously got a bit of glue on there, there we go. So you've just got a little one side there. Then my second punch, I'm going to add my adhesive to the punched shape, because obviously trying to add adhesive onto the back there is not going to be great, and you don't want any excess. So I'm just going to then add that punch to the back. And if it overlaps a little as it has on the end, well, you could deliberately do it, but I'm actually just going to trim that off so it's nice and neat. So that's my layer for the top. So I've done my stamping. Now I can get on with my box construction. So the main box itself is going to be 20. You want a piece of card that's 21 by 21 centimetres. I've done myself a little template, just because it's literally just out of some scrap paper, as you can see here. It's 28.8 17.9. This is one where I have done the measurements in inches, but you'll need to use your 12 by 12 for that. On the short side, you're going to score at 7.2 and at 10.7. And then on the long edge, you're going to score again at 7.2, at 14.4, at 21.6, and then that's your remaining square. So that's what we're going to be doing there. We are going to be doing some scoring, and it's probably easier to show that on the using a ruler and your take your pick tool, because there's both some scoring and some cutting that we want to do. So what we're actually going to do is I'm going to just score at about a centimetre and a half in from this edge, and the same at the bottom section. If I show it horizontally. So I'm just taking my rule. So on these two sections, you're just scoring a line in, and that's just a cutting guide. On this top section, you're scoring once diagonally. On this bottom corner, you're scoring, put that out of the way, once diagonally, so this bottom square. And on this bottom left square, you're going to score in the opposite direction, diagonally. I'm also going to do the same again. So I'm just lining my ruler up and I'm just doing a couple of lines on these middle two on the bottom, which again are my cutting guides. Now you can cut those if you want to on your trimmer, and I'll show you, if you're going to use your trimmer, how to do that. So lining your score line up, I'm going to cut all of these top and bottom sections up and down just to where they meet that middle scored section. And again, just remember there's a little line on the side here indicating where your cutting point is, so you can easily bring that up to the right place. So again, in, cut down to this middle section, lift up, and again cut. And I'm saying that makes the scoring. You can then score diagonally if you want to. And again, if you're more comfortable doing that with your scissors, that's fine. And then these sections here that I'm going to cut, all I'm going to do is just fold our flaps out of the way so I don't accidentally cut into them. And I'm going to line those up, as I said, about 1.5 centimetres or thereabouts, about 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to cut those two away. Flip it round and fold our two end sections away. Again, just lining those up at about 1.5 centimetres. Again, cutting those away. And those pieces are great to use for punching sentiments and things like that. So, now we've done our trimming, you'll be left with a piece like this. And you're going to need to take your scissors and angle some of these corner pieces, particularly these two in the middle. So you want to take a good 45 degrees off those. Just a little bit off that end, because it's not going in, because this one in particular is going into the angle of the triangle. So this we just want to take away the bulk. This one we want to make sure it isn't going to interfere with our folding of our cardstock. And likewise, this one just a little angle, but this one is going to need to be a bigger one. So again, have a look, that's how we've got it. And now we're going to reinforce these score lines on these corners. So just fold them over, make sure it's nice and square, and crease that. Again, nice and reinforced. And the last one is this bottom one here. So again, just make sure that it's nice. And if you just say by doing that, you're just making sure that it's nicely lined up and it's not going to interfere. Okay. So now, if you imagine that the way I've put it now, I've flipped it around because these two scored pieces are the top of our box. Okay, and this bottom one, we're just making sure that it doesn't interfere with our box either. So now we can reinforce our score lines on the sides of the box. Then we can go on and create our box itself. So while it's flat, this is the time that you can add those panels on. So what you'll want to, for your panels, you're going to want a top piece, and this is what is it? It is 6.5. So that's 6.5 by 6.5, and you're going to cut that in half diagonally. You're then going to want 4 pieces for the side, and these are 3.2 by 6.8. So we can just add those on. So add those on while it's flat, it makes it much easier. Don't add it on just yet though, because we're going to want to add our ribbon. I knew there was a reason. It was my DSP I was going to add on first. Haha. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll actually add our ribbon, and I'll show you how I add my ribbon as well, because you're going to add your ribbon, and I'm just putting a bit of our seal across the middle of each one, not quite to the ends. I'm then taking actually my fresh freesia open weave ribbon. So I'm going to leave about 15 centimetres probably to tie my bow. And then I'm going to add my ribbon. But I'm actually going to fold it as I go along, because you need enough to go around the outside edges. And whilst it's not quite... you don't need enough to go at quite such an acute angle. You do want to make sure that you've got plenty of give on it. There's nothing worse than trying to fold that box and find it's a little bit tight. So now we can add our layers, because those are going to hold that ribbon in place. So I'm just using seal here to add those in. And now what I want to do is add our DSP to those. Now, if ever you've got an edge where you put it down and you think, oh gosh, that edge is standing up a little bit proud where it's cut, run your bone folder over it. I'm running my bone folder over the whole of this at the moment, just to make sure that that is really sticking on both sides of the ribbon, because obviously that makes it stand slightly proud. So in terms of our DSP, we don't need very much at all. The DSP pieces that I want for this, I want a piece that's 6 by 6 and then some that are 6.5. So I'm going to cut my 6.5 first. And I'm going to cut my 6 by 6 piece. So I've cut it at 6 centimetres. I can now trim that down to 6 by 6 and cut that in half diagonally. And again, you're cutting into the points, so just do top and bottom on each one. So those are my top layers. Now I've got my 6.5, I want 4 that are 2.9. So I'm just going to do those on the right hand side here, it's just easier for me to see. That's 1, 2, 3rd one, and the 4th one. Now again, if you wanted to, you could actually pop a piece in the bottom of that box as well. So if you want to do, it'll probably be just under, I'm guessing it's going to be around about, if I cut a 6.5 by 6.5, I can always trim that down a little bit later on to go on the inside of my box. So we'll bring this back out and just add our DSP layers on. And as I say, you know, the fresh freesia works with our Highland Heather in those purple tones, and just create slightly more depth around that border. I just need to cut my top piece of card in half. Yeah, so just line those points with the track, cut up and down. Again, we can just add those. And where you're going to put those, you're actually going to put them onto this section here. So it's the two that are closest to the centre. So again, add our DSP on there. Before I add my glue, I'm just going to check the sizing. I've been rubbish at cutting recently. Too much on my mind elsewhere. A lot going on at home with my I have an elderly mother who's got Alzheimer's, so yeah, not easy. So my crafting is my happy place at the moment, gets me away from it all. Okay, so now you've got this outer box, and actually what we're going to do is attach these pieces on the inside, and then we're going to fold over this. So just have a look and kind of go, is that going to foul? It is. So I'm just going to trim that away at a more acute angle. Like so. So what I don't want to do, what I mean by that is, as that comes in, you want to make sure that's nice and clear, but that's going to fold in to hide that flap as well. And we're going to do the same on the other end. Again, I'm just going to want to trim that down a little bit more to keep that angle out of the way. Check the same on my other one, just a little bit more. And because I'm going to use a tape that's really good and strong, it's, you know, that's not going to matter, it's still going to hold really well. So you can either use Seal Plus, so I'd recommend you use Seal Plus for this. It's a 3D item, so you're going to want to add that in there. But what I'm going to do is, before I finish making it, I'm going to do the one side, and then what I want to do is then add my box in there as well. So it just slides in. So add your, look at that, you see, I use Seal now because it happens to be to hand. Add your Seal Plus, come right up into that point, and just close that up to create our nice corner. You see that's nicely away from right up to the crease, but it gives us enough space to fold that over. And you're going to add some Seal Plus in there as well. If you've got the time, then you could add some, obviously some Tombow would work well on this as well. And we're going to do the same on the bottom section. So you're going to add your strong adhesive onto your flap. That's going to come in, and you want some strong adhesive. I would recommend on this one that you do put it on first, because you're going to find it more difficult once that's constructed. If you come over the edge ever with Seal Plus, it's really easy, just tuck that in, and then you can fold that in like so. And again, a really good burnish with that bone folder. Then on this one, we're only doing the one side with the flap, so that makes life a bit easier. Again, our Seal Plus on the edge there and on these two edges here. So fold that up and then fold our corner in and reinforce. Then the last one to do is this one, so I'm just going to run some Seal Plus on the edge there, and there we have it. So there we've got our outer. You see that's all nice and tucked away so that that can pop around the outside like so, and there's your box. So we just need to create our inner piece now. So to create the inner box, you need a piece of card that is 19.6 by 19.6, and you're going to score at 3 and 6.3 on all four sides. So I'm going to do 3 and 6.3, at 3 and at 6.3. So I'm doing 3 on the one side, 6.3 on this side, 3 on this side, and 6.3. And last side is again at 3 centimetres and 6.3. And again, what that's going to give you is it's going to give you a nice reinforced box where the side is going to virtually come down to the very bottom. So to create that, first thing we'll do is we're going to reinforce these creases. Or score lines even. Okay. So just go around and reinforce those. It's a box, we're going to want all of those reinforced. And then you're going to come in with your snips. And first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut down on all four sides. You're going to cut away the outer 3 squares. But when you cut down the side, you're just coming at a slight angle on the inside of that long piece. So again, and cut away. And that's because we want those pieces just to tuck down inside, so we need to just reduce the bulk so that they fit really nicely on the inside of our box. You don't want to make it literally, it is just on the inside of that score line at a slight angle to make it easier. So I think you can still, literally I'm just coming almost like a couple of millimetres, like a 1/16 of an inch. And then once you've done all of those, your piece will look like this. We now want to cut our tabs, and I generally do it in this order because it just makes life easier. So we're cutting straight down, and then we're angling the tab. So straight down the score line and angle that tab. So again, create our tab, and I always do it this way, particularly on square boxes, because this actually creates a better, a squarer box, because you've got one tab on each side. Then you come in, and I'll use my Seal Plus here to put a piece of tape or on the outside edge. Okay. Now it starts to fur up. Okay, so I'm going to come in the opposite direction. I'm actually going to, I'm not going to use my tearing tape on that bit. I have to use a bit of Tombow. If I've caught, what's happened is I've caught an edge, and so you just want to make, you'll just keep lifting and lifting until I ruin my box. So I'm just going to grab some tape here and put a piece of red tape in there. So what I've done is I've come too close to the very edge on that and caught an edge, and then as you can see it works absolutely fine, but I've come and caught the edge of the card. So I'm just going to, it's just something worth something to be aware of when you're using Seal Plus, because it is so strong. It obviously grabs the edge, and rather than release the glue, it will actually bring the card up. So come from the middle out is generally a better thing to do. So once you've done that, providing you haven't had the issues I've had, you're going to do each side. So line up the corner, and once that's in place, you can then fold your tab in. That's the beauty of having this nice one tab per side. So again, tab it in, tuck the flap, tab, and in goes the box. Then the final one, tab in, and in goes the flap. And then give it a good burnish down. And although I haven't come right to the bottom on that, you can see it's got a very nice finish. So you've got a really good sort of edge to that. Then obviously you want some DSP to go in the bottom of that. And if you remember, I cut my piece to 6.5 by 6.5, and I'm just going to add a little adhesive to that. You could go slightly bigger. You could go to about 6.8 if you wanted it to come right to the edges, but that just pops in the bottom there to finish it off. And then all that remains to do is to pop our box in here, tuck it in, take our layer that we've created, and I'm just going to add a couple of dimensionals. So have a look at where you want it to be, and you want your dimensionals on the outer edge of this, and you don't want it to come across that middle line. So just put them on the one side, and we can just line that up on the centre, tie our pretty bow, as I say, around about 6 inches on each end should be about fine. So you can then trim any just to make it even. And there we have our pair of pretty boxes for a birthday. What do you think? I hope you like them. On this one, or I should have said, I've layered this one up on dimensionals on the top. On this one I've kept it flat. But either way, you can see a lovely neat box here. So when you open it up, it's really easy. The box can come out, have that as a little tray, or you can just tuck that in. If you wanted to attach the box, you could do, but it just makes it a little bit more difficult to get things in and out, and I just prefer it to, but a nice little box. So thanks for watching. Come back and see me again soon. And if you'd like to purchase any of the items, do pop along to my blog at flutterbyheidi.co.uk, or use the links below, or go to my shop at heidismith.stampinup.net. Bye now.